A Mighty Wind, The Annals of History, by Lord Blackwater. Chapter 16. Death by Weiner Necklace. The Rishimi had decided it was time to move. Villagers had been going missing, and people feared they had been hunted for their hairy ass pelts. It had been more than 3 decades since the last hunt, but it was becoming clear that ass hats were coming back into fashion. The Rishimi had chosen an isolated spot just north of the Boob Range. The hope was that they could live here without interruption for generations to come. This broke Corfart's heart when he first heard the news. He adored Blackwater Lake. It was here that he fell in love and where Barnaby was born. To move away, he felt, would be to give up on his relationship with Vagella. Worse yet, Vagella had become more impassioned by her efforts to reclaim her family's power and influence. More and more she found herself away from home, and when on the rare occasion she was with Corfart, she would smell of tuna and farts. He knew she'd been sleeping around. That's to be expected. But something about this was beyond just an endeavor to lead her people again.
My muse, my flame, let go of this ambition of yours and focus on what's right here in front of you,
begged Corfart.
You have me, and you have Barnaby. What more could you need?
Vagella finished biting off his squirrel's dick before responding. Tuesdays were always squirrel dick night in their household.
I can't believe you are even asking me that question, Corfart. Of course I need more. My family has been shat on for generations, even though we are the rightful rulers of the Rishimi people. Now we are no better than those goat-fucking humans across the lake. I do this for us, for Barnaby,
Vagella explained.
So, what are you going to do then? We both know you're not happy here. You haven't been for some time now. I need to leave, Corfart. I need to see some people, ask some questions,
replied Vagella.
Leaving? Leaving your husband and your son?
Pleaded Corfart.
Yes,
Vagella responded flatly. Corfart sat for a moment. He had hoped for a different solution, but there appeared to be none.
So be it. It's clear you've started making decisions without your family in mind. I've made one of my own. Barnaby and I will stay by Lake Blackwater, the place where our love first began. We will not be moving with the rest of the Rishimi. If you ever become who you were, come back here and beg for forgiveness.
With that, Vagella turned and left. Barnaby cried in the background, but all Corfart could do was stare at her ass as she walked away.
I'd give anything to mulch that sod one more time,
said a forlorn Corfart. This was it. If this didn't work, Vagella didn't know what would do. She had traveled to the banks of Lake Arisage, following a legend. This legend supposed that a great magician rested here who could grant powers to someone for the right price. Vagella hoped it was more than a story. She had spent months tracking down the details of the legend, and several more months looking for the right resting spot. She stood in front of the grave and looked at the name.
Shartner,
she said out loud. Seemed like a silly name. She laid down her necklace and poured some heavy cream onto the earth surrounding the grave. Then she squatted down and laid a stinky wet dookie on top of the necklace. After this she waited, hoping beyond hope that the ritual the psoriatic centaur had taught her wasn't all for shits and giggles. Suddenly the grave began to rumble. Not a second later, a large, scaly dick popped out from the earth. The dick swirled around, blowing grass and dirt everywhere, uncovering what lay below. Vagella shielded her eyes. When the wind blowing ceased, she saw a great dragon, Shartner, standing in front of her.
I have risen at your hands. I thank you, creature, but for what purpose do you bring me back?
Shartner asked. It took Vagella a moment to collect her thoughts.
I seek the mighty Queef, O Lord Shartner. Long ago my people lost its powers, and I seek to regain it so that I can lead the Rishimi people to glory.
Ah, the mighty Queef. Legend has told of this for years. I myself have longed for such a great power,
Shartner replied. Vigilla smiled. Finally, it was her time. All the dick shrinking and balls to the face would be worth it. Shartner took note of her excitement, and he didn't like it.
Well, I couldn't have someone else gaining a power greater than my own, now could I?
He said with a little chuckle. Vigilla's smile disappeared.
And besides, you should never believe in legends. I have no power to grant such a wish. You've wasted your time getting here.
With that, Shartner took the turd and Weiner necklace that laid nearby and jellied them down Vigilla's throat. As she lay there dying, she couldn't help but think of Barnaby and Corfart. How foolish she had been.